Hello, fellow makers, foam fanatics, and fabric enthusiasts. This is the real Melky with Ryan's Cosplay Closet. Welcome back to my lab. Yesterday, we made this vest. Well, started making this vest. Today, we're going to finish the seams, well, the edges. Because if you look right here, the edges are all fraying and tattered and messed up. And we don't want that. So, we're going to fix that today. Now, I've already cut out the facing pieces for the sleeve holes. That will be these right here. And we're going to pin them on with the right sides facing. That's the term, facing. But we're going to attach them so that the center part right here is along the shoulder seam right here. Like this. And again, you can use wonder clips or pins for this. I'm just using pins because that's what I have out at the moment. And let's start pinning. And just like normal sewing, you want to make sure the edges line up as close as possible. It's okay if they're not perfect because you're going to trim the edge after it's sewn together. And we're going to do this side and the next side and the back, but we'll just cut ahead. Okay, our facings have been pinned to the fabric, to the vest, and we are ready to sew them together. Before we can do that, we need to put it on the machine in a way that it can just feed around it, which is why I've removed this little canister thingy. Most sewing machines can do that. And now what we do is we just put the vest and facing onto the sewing machine. I usually like to start at the seam, at the side seam here, but you can start wherever you want. And now we're just going to sew them together. So, remember to remove your pins as you go. And back stitch to make sure that's a nice strong locked seam in there, and just go for it. And we're just going to do this all the way around the sleeve hole and the facing. But we will come back when that's done. Okay, so we are back now. And it is time to trim the facings because there's too much on there. We need to make that go away. So to do that, we will take our fabric scissors. So right here. And we will trim the facing. Now, you don't want to do this too close to your seam because that'll make it difficult to tuck under it. And that will make more sense as we go along. Also, whenever you're using scissors or knives or any sharp object, be careful. Now that the public safety announcement is out of the way, we can continue trimming the facing. Also, when you're trimming the facing, you want to be careful not to cut yourself or your garment, whether it's a shirt, a tunic, a pair of pants, a vest, a cape, whatever. You only want to trim the facing, not the thing you're making. Okay, and now what we're going to do is take our seam allowance here, the facing, and fold our facing over the seam allowance, like so. And pin in place. And we're just going to keep doing that. Around the entire sleeve. Oh, sleeve hole, because this is a vest. Okay. Now that the facing is pinned over top of the raw edge, we're going to flip the facing over again. And we're going to pin it down again. Just like this. Okay. First sleeve hole is all pinned in place and ready to go. So now we sew it down. And we're just using a regular old straight stitch, nothing fancy yet. That comes later. Removing the pins. Remember to backstitch. And again, go as slow or fast as you want. I'm just going to go all the way around. Okay, so the armholes are now all nice and clean. There's no fraying edges or anything like that. But there is still the matter of this. All this needs to get cleaned up. So, to do that, we have this stuff. Bias tape. Now, a single piece of bias tape will not go all the way around the entire border of this vest. It's just too short. So I'm going to sew these together. Be right back. Okay, when you get some bias tape, it will come folded up like so. You want to unfold it and unfold it again. Now, I got double fold bias tape because this is the stuff I learned to work with. I actually learned this from a tutorial from Talk Custom. I will put a link in the description. Now, what I'm going to do is pin 2 pieces of bias tape and sew them together so that I have one long strip of bias tape. I'm going to do that by pinning the pieces together like so. And then we're just going to run this through the sewing machine. Like this right here. Remember to backstitch. And forward stitch. And when we get almost to the end, we're going to backstitch a bit and then sew all the way off the fabric. Take your bias tape out of the sewing machine, trim a thread. Trim our bias tape, well, sewing allowance of our bias tape. And now we are ready to pin this to our vest, which I will do. Okay, and now we want to clip our bias tape, which is this, to our vest. And we do that pretty much the same way we do all our other clipping or pinning or whatnot. going to just temporarily hold them together. Try to get the edges as close together as possible, but it's okay if it's not exact. And when you get to a corner, this is where it gets slightly complicated. Because then we need to start sewing. We're only going to sew from here to here. And then I'll show you what to do next. Now, normally we would have a set seam allowance or just line up the edge of the pressure foot with the edge of the fabric and go. But this is not exactly normal. So what we want to do is make sure our needle is as close to this first crease as possible. Like that. And then we will sew it down. Remember the back stitch. And forward stitch. Oh. So our corner is right here. What we want to do is stop when we get to about 1/4 inch from our corner. So I'm going to stop right about here. And now, to pick up our pressure foot while leaving the needle in the fabric and the bias tape, turn the fabric and the bias tape so that now we're sewing towards the corner, which is here. Back stitch and forward stitch off the fabric, like that. Flip your thread, trim your thread, and then we want to fold our bias tape along this stitch line right here, like so. So we have a nice mitered corner right there. And then we're going to unfold it again, so that way the edge, the corner, meets up with this right here, which also means this edge will line up with this. And then clip it together. Clip it together. And continue. Okay, so we are coming close to the end of our bias tape. That's because I cut it so that both of the pieces were made up in the center of the back. And we're just going to stitch. But we don't want to stitch all the way to the end of the bias tape. We want to stop right about here. So that way we have something to work with when we bring the other side around. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Or several minutes, because my phone is about to die. Remember to back stitch, and then forward stitch. Thread. And now I'm going to do the other side. Okay. Now that our bias tape has been sewn onto our vest, like so, it is time to do the top stitching. And we do that by folding our first crease over like that, and then folding this over like this, like that. That way, we have a nice finished edge on the outside of the vest and the inside of the vest. And now we're going to clip it in place. like so. And we're just going to do this all the way around the entire perimeter of the vest. Okay, now we're ready to top stitch this thing down. When you're doing this, you want to make sure your needle is as close to the edge of the thing you're top stitching as possible. So that way it'll go through all of the layers, both the bias tape, the fabric, and the other piece of bias tape. Well, the other fold of bias tape. Like this. Remember to back stitch. And go for it. Now, because I switched over to metallic silver thread up here, we have to go really slow because this stuff will lose its casing if it goes through too fast. And that's not what I want. But if the thing you're top stitching doesn't require metallic thread, then by all means, go as fast as you want. And we will come back when this is done. Okay, so our vest is all sewn together. Bias tape is looking really good. Top stitching looks good. There are no more exposed raw edges. They're all safely tucked away inside the bias tape, which is right where they're supposed to be. But there's still more to do. I need to make buckles. That'll go here, 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 and here. And then there are about 200 tiny little things that'll go all over this vest. Well, there's 2 front panels anyway. For that, there'll be molding and casting. But that's for another video. Which means this is the end of this one. So I will thank you for watching. And like the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more shenanigans from the lab or the factory, which is where I'll be doing the rest of this work. So, have a great day. I will see you next time.